So Micah, we'll certainly open it up here for some questions too, but can you tell us a little bit about your first interaction with Terrence?
Yeah, sure. Well, first I just want to say it's so cool to rep the film here in a place that has such a vibrant arts community and a vibrant queer community. I texted Terrence, it's cool to him that it's being shown here. In between the Muse Machine, the Neon, the Human Race, it's a town he would be proud of and be proud to be from, like I am.
He texted Terrence.
I have his landline too. What was your question?
So tell me about the first time that you actually interacted with Terrence. Was it an audition or?
Yeah, so in 2013, I auditioned for a new play of Terrence's called And Away We Go. He has so many plays, they weren't able to all be featured in the film. And I auditioned for that play, and I got the part, but Terrence they had already cast every other role, so he hadn't been around for my casting. So I walked into the first day of rehearsal, having never met him, thinking like, okay, there's still an opportunity to fuck this up. We did the first read through, it went well, and I walked into the bathroom, and he walked in behind me, and he comes down next to me and goes, yeah, well, I think the play needs some work still. There's this part. And he just started talking shop with me in the bathroom right away. And I was like, okay, I think I'm okay for now.
Very cool. So tell us just a little bit of your backstory too. So you grew up in Oakwood, right?
Yeah.
And what about your first theater experience here in town that you remember?
Oh my gosh. I mean, my parents were so good about taking me to so many different things. I don't know if I remember my first one is sort of an amalgamation of lots of different experiences. Certainly I saw all the Muse Machine musicals. I saw almost everything of the Human Race. I remember sitting, it's funny sort of, I was thinking about this full circle thing. I remember sitting in either this theater or the next theater watching Brokeback Mountain with my family, and all of us just like snot-rocketing tears. Seeing that film. I think it was on my birthday, too. So I have so many, I don't have one specific first memory of Dayton Theater, but I just remember, and the Dayton Theater Guild, Dayton Playhouse, you know, I played all of them.
I love it. I love it. And you mentioned Meredith Moss is here. You did a story with her.
Yeah.
You talked about doing all the McNally plays in your basement. Can you tell us you were a theater kid from the beginning?
Oh yeah, sure, from go. I mean, our house, my parents, they were very big on imagination and we were avid readers. There were books everywhere. So that was already sort of part of the culture of my house and certainly the arts. My parents always put us in dance classes, things like that. But specifically being introduced to Terrence was, I was at Oakwood High School and my drama teacher, Candy Pease, handed me a copy of Love, Valor, Compassion. And I was just I don't think I fully understood it at the time, but I knew that it was special, and that introduced me to Terrence as a writer. I think I did that monologue that Nathan does about wishing that musicals were more like life. I think I used as an audition piece when I was 15 years old for something at Wright State, which was, I'm sure they're just like, didn't quite match, but yeah. So Terrence has been a part of my life long before I knew him personally. He was a part of my life.
Very cool. So let's go ahead and open it to some questions here. Who's got a question for Micah? Anybody? All right, then let's just talk about a little bit about going on to Then It's Only a Play. Can you talk a little bit about how that role came to you and working with that amazing cast of people?
Yeah, sure. So I did that first play with Terrence, And Away We Go, which was seen by about 4 people. I think my mom, my dad, Terrence, and me during rehearsals. Not many people saw it. Unfortunately, it was a great play. But from that, the next year, about a year later, they were doing this play of Terrence's It's Only a Play, which actually was previously known as Broadway. I think they mentioned in the documentary. It was a play that played out of town and just didn't do well. And so it kind of died, but Terrence picked it back up a few years later, revised it, started calling it It's Only a Play, and did it off-Broadway in the mid-'80s. So then they picked it up, I guess it was almost 30 years later now. They were going to do it on Broadway, and I had just done this play with Terrence, and so I was just right place at the right time. I did this play of Terrence's where I played 6 different parts, and Terrence knew my work. Jack O'Brien, who's also in the film, was directing that play. Nathan Lane saw that play. So it was just a convergence of getting very lucky that the right people saw me in a play of Terrence's. And then, yeah, I got to do that show.
And it was a great, great performance. Did anybody else here see it? I feel like, yeah, definitely a handful of folks. Who here, any other questions right now? Lorna Dawes, I know you probably have one. Here, Kevin.
I can project. Yeah, that's right.
What's next? What are you working on that you can talk about?
Sure. We just feel like we should talk about Terrence as the documentary's about him. But I will plug quickly. I did a Showtime miniseries called Escape at Dannemora that's coming out next month. You can watch. I have a film called Brittany Runs a Marathon. Should be coming out pretty soon. Yeah, that's all for now. But it's great. The miniseries is great. I played Patricia Arquette's son. It's got Benicio del Toro, Paul Dano, Ben Stiller directed it. It was a fun experience. Yeah.
Anybody? Here's Lorna.
Oh, I have such fond memories of you, and still do.
You too, Lorna.
I will always remember when I saw you at the very beginning of the rehearsals for Beauty and the Beast. And I was so struck by the fact that when you were just beginning, there was no costume or anything, and how you physically became this being. That will always be in my memory. And I just appreciate you so much as a person, an actor, a very, very dear man.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. I paid her to say that.
So that was Lorna Dawes, who was with Muse Machine for years.
Thanks, Lorna.
Sure.
If you could be in any of Terrence's plays, which one would you pick if you had to pick?
Oh man, that's a great question. One that I haven't done that I would pick. I'm a big fan of the ones I did, but I do think I would love to do Love, Valor, Compassion. We did a couple years ago, I don't know if I'm supposed to say it, we did a reading of it in his living room that I just love. I played the role that John Benjamin Hickey played in that reading, and maybe it'll still happen someday soon. But I just think it's so, it was a different kind of form for Terrence. I don't know how well you all know Love, Valor, Compassion, but it takes place over a few weekends in one summer, the same group of friends, but it time jumps in these really beautiful ways, and all the actors, in addition to sort of being in the story, are telling it together. So it really is this like incredible pastiche and like patchwork of storytelling that Terrence wove together. And that was a really big leap for him in terms of the way he stitched together his plays. So it's still one of my favorites too.
So tell me, being in Terrence's living room doing a reading, does that kind of thing happen, or or just frequently, or it was a thought that maybe we're going to move forward with something, or? Yeah,
no. Sometimes he does it. I think you can see in the documentary that Terrence really reaches down. He finds actors that he loves and admires. He doesn't really give a shit if they have stature or not. He just finds people who he feels like really understand his writing and his experience, and he holds them close, and he makes you feel special. And he's one of those writers where you just kind of like, you get the script and you just get out of the way. You just say the words, you don't ever think of it, because everything is there if you just follow the the form that he's given you. But yeah, so he's still writing all the time, and he'll have, just like friends over to read plays. Often those friends are, pretty cool people. I remember like doing an afternoon reading of a new play of his that since then sort of changed quite forms, but I was sitting in a room and it was like Sarah Jessica Parker, F. Marie Abraham, Tyne Daly, Nathan Lane. I was like, this is all right for an afternoon. It's a good way to spend a Tuesday.
A question.
What was his reaction to the documentary? Do you know?
She's asking
Yeah.
what is Terrence's reaction to the doc?
I have to ask him, but I think he's pleased. I think he also was like at first a little bit skeptical because, he's used to being behind the table and letting other people take over. He's been in the business for a long time, so he's spoken, he feels comfortable, but I think to have sort of a lens just put on you, especially when he spent his life putting his experiences into other people's mouths, I think it probably felt, pretty like being under a microscope. But I know he's happy with the film, and I think if I were him, I think it must feel good to have an entire movie about you and have all these people speak about you, but he deserves it. He really is that. He's the reason I have a career. You hear a lot of different people say that. He really reaches down and pulls people up with him. He's a generous person.
Got another questions over here.
The last frame of the film, Micah said that he was working on 3 new plays.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it also looks as if